It has been brought to my attention that many EXJWs have been targeted and harassed by the Watchtower organization. Now, this is something that I have come forward with on many different platforms, and I have even erased some of it off my own page because I didn't want Jehovah's Witnesses waking up to take in information that they couldn't handle, right? Information that some people would just say is conspiracy. But when I've come forward about stuff that I've gone through in my past, there has been a lot of XJWs who have written me, emailed me, and said that they were going through the same thing. But yet, still, I wasn't going to necessarily make a video like this, not to confuse, because I didn't want to confuse the Jehovah's Witnesses waking up with something that they couldn't handle. But recently, I had three different XJWs who don't know each other, but three different people have asked me to check out Kim and Mikey's channel, saying that there's a guy named John that was giving an account of organized harassment, stalking, and being targeted. So when I checked out his video, not only did I see a clear connection that we're both talking about the same thing, I also made connections to a total of three other XJWs that have very similar stories. So I'm going to just compare each of these three different people with things that I've said to show that this is something that actually is something that has been a problem. Now, I'm not here to try to convince anybody of anything. I'm just going to lay out the facts, and I'm going to show you actual evidence and even video footage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through three different XJWs that were saying very similar things to what I've said. And I want to put this out here to expose that this is something that XJWs are going through. And it takes a special person that would be harassed and targeted in this particular type of way. Someone that you can say is a real threat to exposing truth. So again, I'm not going to try to convince you of anything. I'm just going to show you the facts. So if you go to Kim and Mikey's channel, there's three videos with a guy named John. And I'm only going to reference part three, but I recommend that you watch all three of these videos. The first one is Shocking Story Behind the Menlo Park Fraud Scandal. But I'm just going to focus on part three during this video. So notice what he says, and then I'm going to compare it with things that I've said.
We knew we were starting to affect them with the court case because things started happening. Weird things started happening.
Things started happening. Weird things started happening. Weird things is a characteristic for people who have described this particular type of what you could call harassment. So notice a clip of the weird thing that I reported a couple of weeks ago. So right the day after I posted my video that I'm coming back to expose Watchtower, and I even gave a preview of Caleb Part 5 exposing War 666 and satanic stuff, the day after I posted that video, now this car is parked here, and it hasn't moved since. Right? Just planted for me to have to walk past it every day to get my attention, which is why there's a huge bumper sticker on the front windshield, which who does that? Now, one thing I forgot to mention for those of you who have seen my video titled Someone Tries to Intimidate Ex-Jehovah's Witness Part 1 and Part 2 is that I ended my comeback video, and this is something that I didn't realize when I did those other two videos, that I ended my comeback video with the very last thing showing that if you look at world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses and mirror it, you know how Jehovah's Witnesses like to mirror things to expose demonic images that they planted in their magazines. Well, if you mirror world headquarters a certain way, you can get basically a giant Baphomet. And this shouldn't surprise anybody when you see the great detail they put into the Denmark Assembly Hall. Now, of course, this is subjective. I can't prove this. This is just something that I can see. But it's interesting that I ended that video with the very last thing being the Baphomet face, right? That was the very last thing in that video. And then the very next day, that exact Baphomet was planted on that car. So that's just a 7 point for those of you who have watched those two videos. That is now point number 7. That I ended my comeback video with the Baphomet, and the very next morning the Baphomet was placed in front of my face. So out of all the billions of symbols in the world, what are the odds that the exact thing that I end my video with, which is the Baphomet, the very last thing, is the very first thing put in my face the next day? So that's just an example of some of the weird things that have happened. So let's go on to John and see what else he describes.
Remember in the last video I did, I said that's why they call it the Watchtower, because they're watching you.
That's why they call it the Watchtower, because they're watching you. So this is something that I've touched on before, that this organization, I believe it's spying on all of its members. So just notice a quick clip from one of my older videos about them watching you. So when I was looking this Watchtower investigations up, because I know what I seen, I remember seeing, it had the Watchtower logo and everything, or at least the type of tower. I did find information that proves that this site actually existed. So apparently this is the guy that was head of Watchtower investigations, and I'm not sure. It looks like this is some sort of legal document. Because private investigators have like certain legal, um how should I say it? They have certain legal privileges, like police do. So I'm not sure exactly what this document is, but as you can see, Watchtower Investigations. And so it was a company at one point, and it has right here the website. So notice what happens when we click on the website from this document that's showing that this company actually existed. It comes back here, right? So this is the same, or this was this website that's no longer connected to a website anymore, whatever that means. So I can't say for a fact that Watchtower Investigations is part of Watchtower, even though they used a Watchtower as their logo, which was kind of odd. But I can't help that I get the same feel that this is what Watchtower does whenever they try to hide and cover stuff up, they get rid of the evidence. That's why they call it the Watchtower, because they're watching you. So let me play another clip of another example of Watchtower spying on its members. So if you read the settings carefully, and I want to put this as a warning, especially to PMOs that are in the organization that are looking at so-called apostate stuff, is that if you read carefully, and you can see what I have highlighted, it clearly says that some cookies are necessary to make our website work and cannot be refused. So you may hit decline and think, okay, I'm good, but they know what they're doing. It basically, it doesn't matter if you hit decline or accept, they're letting you know right there that some cookies are necessary and cannot be refused. So if you continue to use your website, they're tracking your data, period. And if you see what I have highlighted at the top, it says, we may store or retrieve a small amount of data on your mobile phone, tablet, or computer hard drive. When you use this website, they're letting you know that they can retrieve data off your phone. So it's saying they can take data off your phone and your computer hard drive. So it's just important that you understand that. We do not seek to identify individual visitors unless they volunteer their contact details through one of the forms or applications on the website. user information, and passwords. Only ministerial servants and elders needed to have a login information on jw.org. So if you're a servant or an elder, you can't get around this. You have to make an account with jw.org. And as the cookie policies say, they don't seek to identify individual users unless you volunteer information. So right away, ministerial servants and elders, you're screwed in a sense, right? They're basically gonna identify you and what you're doing. And that's why they call it the Watchtower, because they're watching you.
Arlen St. Clair then asked them how they knew he was at this coffee shop. And they replied, the two Jehovah's Witnesses, "We know your routine."
We know your routine. So notice what I described very recently in one of my previous videos. So right at this gate, if you see this gate right here, I walk past this gate every morning. I go into this park to work out, and I cut through this parking lot. And right after I made my comeback of exposing Watchtower and their satanic connections, somebody parks this car right by the gate so that every time I walk by the gate, I have to see it. And it happens to have the same upside down star satanic symbol, the exact symbol actually from one of my videos. We know your routine. Again, this is standard when people start to have weird things happen to them, that whoever's behind it knows your routine.
"I believe I have been followed home from work last Saturday."
I believe I have been followed home from work last Saturday. Now, notice what I said in an interview that I did in 2023. I started going through this problem where I was being harassed and followed. Harassed and followed. I believe I have been followed.
Approximately two to 3 weeks later, he was run off the road.
Approximately 2 to 3 weeks later, he was run off the road. And you'll have to watch that video to know exactly who he was talking about. He was talking about somebody who's also working with him exposing Watchtower. But hearing somebody say they were run off the road, that's not something that you really hear from any other EXJWs. That's not something that really comes up that often with anybody. But notice what he said. He was run off the road, and listen to what I said during this interview. This is very clear that I'm getting onto the on-ramp on the highway. So I'm getting onto the on-ramp into the slow lane. So I'm not in anybody's way. I'm not going too slow. I'm just getting on a highway. So this tanker truck that's in the middle lane, he starts beaming me from lights turned backwards to blind me while I'm driving. And nobody can say it's road rage because it wasn't like I was in his way, because I'm coming on the on-ramp in a slow lane. He's passing me in the middle lane, then slows down to start trying to blind me to run me off the road. Starts trying to blind me to run me off the road.
Now, I'm not saying the Watchtower ran him off the road. I am saying that the Watchtower uses third parties. So they use another party, and sometimes that party is not a witness, so that they can, have plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability. So you see, when people go through this type of organized harassment, they do it in such a way to have plausible deniability. But notice that he uses the same terminology that I use when describing certain things that have happened to me. But is it just a coincidence that as I'm making a very short video, right? This isn't like one of my videos that's 2 hours long. That in such a short video, a 9-minute video, right as I'm exposing this Baphomet that is hidden in a skateboarding magazine logo, right? Because again, that's a form of gaslighting that they take it from something where it's like plausible deniability. And again, anyone that's gone through this type of harassment knows that plausible deniability is how it can happen in plain sight. And then to try to make you look paranoid, right? Because of plausible deniability.
But you know it's sinister because you feel it.
You know it's sinister because you feel it. Now, again, when this situation happened to me, I felt it, right? You see, when something is done deliberately to get your attention, not everybody else's attention, you will feel it.
I had asked Joseph if he well, it's still fresh in his mind, and I told him to take a minute and think about it, and to tell me if he thought it was an accident or if it was intentional. And there was he stared at the ceiling for almost a full minute, and it was quiet. All you could hear is the frenzy of what was going on in the ER with other patients and stuff like that. And finally, he rolled his head, he turned his head over, and he looked at me and he said, "It was intentional."
Was it an accident or was it intentional? Then his friend answered, it was intentional. So now take a look at when somebody tried to run me off the road, and you're going to see that it's very intentional. This is very clear that I'm getting onto the on ramp on the highway. So I'm getting onto the on ramp into the slow lane. So I'm not in anybody's way. I'm not going too slow. I'm just getting on the highway. So this tanker truck that's in the middle lane, he starts beaming me from lights turned backwards to blind me while I'm driving. And nobody can say it's road rage because it wasn't like I was in his way because I'm coming on the on ramp in a slow lane. He's passing me in the middle lane, then slows down to start trying to blind me to run me off the road, probably just to scare me. He knows I'm a skilled enough driver that I'm not going to crash, but I could have ran off the road. And then you're going to see that when I try to move out of his way, he puts on another light to blind me from that side. So you can see, like, as I try to get away from him, he keeps blinding me. Okay, so this is the on ramp. Okay, so now you're going to see him in the middle lane.
Oh, wow. What a jerk.
So I move over to get away from him because he's blinding me. Now he blinds me from another light on that side. I go back to the other side. He blinds me with two lights.
Jeez, I've never seen anything like that. That's crazy.
So the show that this was obviously very intentional. If I had ran myself off the road, right, because this other trucker is clearly blinding me. You can clearly see he's doing it on purpose, blinding high beams in my face with lights rigged backwards. So let's say while I'm being blinded with high beams, what if I ran off the road? Well, if I ran off the road and somebody asked, "Hey, what happened? Was it just an accident or did somebody intentionally do something?" Well, what do you think by looking at that video? Right? If I did run myself off the road, would you say it was just a freak accident or would you say it's intentional?
He said, "I ride this route every, I know the road. I ride this route every morning to go to work."
I ride this route every day. I know the road. I ride this route every morning to go to work. right? So now notice what I explained now in this clip. Everybody's daily routine is different. So let's just say that, and you can use many examples of this, but let's just say that you live in a house where you have to walk to the end of your driveway to get to your mailbox, right? Let's say you got a long driveway. So this is your routine. Every day you walk to the end of your driveway to check the mailbox. If you notice a car parked near your mailbox that you've never seen before, right? Not to say that nobody can put a bumper sticker on a front windshield, but I'm talking about if this is your daily routine and now you see a car that you've never seen before, and then it has a sticker related to like something that you particularly are working on, well, of course you're going to notice that. But even more suspicious, if now that car you never seen before, if now every time you go out to your mailbox, now the car is there and it doesn't move, well, of course you're going to notice that. But you see, that's your routine. It's not your neighbor's routine, right? Your neighbor may have a different path that he walks to his mailbox, right? His mailbox is in a different spot. So if you say to your neighbor something about this car, they might not really care because it's not their routine. So everybody's routine is different. So if you have a special routine of a place that you walk, you're going to notice if there's a car that you've never seen before. And now it just happens to be parked and now it never moves and there's a bumper sticker that has to do with you. So what I was explaining is the same thing that John was explaining. You know your routine, so you know something is off.
And that's when I started thinking about the email, and the last line of the email said, I think I'm being followed.
I think I'm being followed. So let's take a look at another example of me saying the same exact thing. I started going through this problem where I was being harassed and followed.
One question real quick.
Yeah.
Could you tell us what harassment's like? Or, a lot of people will be sitting there going, well, you didn't really say how they were hassling them. Like,
Yeah.
were they following you in a car close? Were they on foot? Were they knocking on your door in the middle of the night? Could you just tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about
what that looked like.
what that looked like so people could
Yeah.
see that it's real?
Yeah, good idea.
So one of the things that they specifically, when people are in a situation, they specifically tailor it to you. So whatever they think is going to get under your skin, they'll use. So I'm a truck driver for a living, and what I was noticing is that I was being overtly followed all day long. So like a car would get behind me, put their high beams on, follow me for like maybe 45 minutes when it first started. And then like they would get off the exit. And as you're getting off the exit, another car will come on the on-ramp and pick up right behind where that car was at. And I knew I was being followed because with a big tractor trailer, if you have a heavy load and you're going, say, up an incline, you'll drop from, say, 65 miles per hour to like 45. And sometimes trucks will put their flashers on to kind of let cars know, hey, slow moving vehicle. Cars always go around you. But these particular cars that I already felt were following me, they would stay with me the whole time. Even when I would drop my speed down, they would stay with me. They wouldn't let up.
That's so obvious.
Yeah. And then like things like, I would go outside and there would be a car just sitting in front of my house with the high beams on. Then they'd follow me like as I pull out of my driveway, stuff like it's not a real investigation, because in a real investigation, if you're really putting someone under surveillance because you really think they're doing something, you don't want them to have any idea they're being followed in a
Right.
real investigation.
Right.
So in this, whatever's going on, it's like they're harassing you.
Intimidation.
Yeah. So it's pretty much bogus, whatever it is you're doing, because otherwise you don't want the person to know. And let me just make this clear that when you're a truck driver, we are trained specifically to know if we're being followed, right? And this has to do with, you could be carrying a lot of expensive stuff on your trailer, right? I mean, you might have seen the Fast and Furious Part 1 movie. Well, that's a real thing. There are organized groups that will basically try to follow a truck driver and try to basically steal their freight, right? So you're specifically transit truck driver. You know if you're being followed. So I just want to make that very clear. There's no mistake when you're driving 18 wheelers for a living.
Something else I want to let you know, it might have something to do with it or not, but he had the accident in Santa Clara County. Santa Clara County is where they issued that fraudulent check to Dave Richards, who then sent the money wire transfer to the Watchtower in Pennsylvania. Could just be a coincidence. But, you know, you have to wonder.
Could just be a coincidence, but you have to wonder. But here's the thing. So if you can even ask ChatGPT, right? And I don't know how to ask ChatGPT the question appropriately, but there must be a way where you can ask ChatGPT if you figure out how to ask what the odds of this would be. And I guarantee I'd probably say ChatGPT would probably say that like the odds of all these coincidences, all the things just connected with the car itself and the symbol and when it was placed there and the videos that I've done, and the fact that it's hidden under a Thrasher logo, like a cover, right? Like a way to hide it in plain sight. And then just by chance, as I'm recording the video, a guy on a skateboard, right through the video as I'm talking. I don't think that's a coincidence. And I bet if you could factor in the odds of all this stuff, not just the skateboard, but all the things about the car that I mentioned in the first video, and then the person on the skateboard, like, no. And just to clarify, this is not a skateboarding park, right? There's certain parks, like if you see the picture of the magazine where they have all these things for skate, this is not a skateboarding park anyway. But anyway, that's another subject. I'm not gonna harp on this part too much, but to me, you're not gonna have that many coincidences factored into one thing. And again, ask ChatGPT if you can figure out how to word it. What are the odds of all these things being a coincidence, right? So don't just take my word for it. You think about it yourself if these are just coincidences. So coincidences do happen, but the more coincidences you have towards one particular situation, especially if it's multiple days, it becomes impossible odds that it's not on purpose. So again, there were 7 things connected with just this one situation for me to say there's no way that that's a coincidence. And that's what John was talking about. Even though he worded it differently, like he was more modest the way that he said it, say, well, it could be a coincidence, but clearly you can tell what he was saying that no, that's not a coincidence that he had the accident at the same place or same county that they filed that case.
But we were taking all kinds of heat. We didn't let anybody know. For the untrained eye, it looked like it was business as usual.
For the untrained eye, it looked like it was business as usual. So again, just notice that me and John used the same language. You see, it was done in such a way to get my attention, but have it be unnoticed to the untrained eye. But you see, by using something like this, that doesn't straight say the Church of Satan on it, the untrained eye is going to walk by this car and all they're going to see is the word Thrasher, right? They don't even know what the Baphomet is, the average person, right? It's only if you look close enough that you can see it says 666 in it, but the untrained eye. So technically, when someone is being harassed specifically, individually, there's a certain way that people are harassed where they start to see the patterns. They start to see that the odds of that many coincidences are an impossibility, that it is impossible to have that many coincidences. So again, this is why me and John are both saying the same thing, that to the untrained eye, because these things are met that other people won't notice. That's why we were both saying to the untrained eye, you have to really analyze this and see that these are patterns.
It's designed to break you and to emotionally get you invested, and put you under a lot of psychological duress.
It's designed to break you, to emotionally get you invested, to put you under a lot of psychological duress. Now think about psychologically trying to break somebody, right? So notice what I said going back to this other interview that we already looked at. Yeah. So it's pretty much bogus, whatever it is you're doing, because otherwise you don't want the person to know. And one more thing I want to mention, there's a lot of harassing stuff, but like there's a period of time where me and my wife would leave together and we would come back home and things would be moved around in our house.
Ooh.
Nothing would be stolen really. And it was just like
That's
a way to
mess with
harass
your
you.
head. It's a mess with your head.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll just give you an example. Like say like there's a chair that's in your living room and you come home and a chair is like next to your back door. It's so simple, but like I didn't put why is the chair in front of the back door?
Right.
You can't report it because then you're made to look schizophrenic or crazy. Right. That's what they want. So if I call the police and say, hey, somebody broke into my house, oh, what did they steal? They didn't steal anything. Well, how do you know they broke in? Well, they took my chair and they put it in front of the back door. You look crazy. You look like, oh, you're just being forgetful. Something's wrong.
Yes.
And I also heard from doing research that like they try to mimic things like schizophrenia. So they do things to mimic that so that you sound like you're just schizophrenic or paranoid when you try to report it. So it's designed to harass you where you can't really prove it.
Yeah, and not only that, but they could possibly find ways to get you in a mental ward.
Yeah.
Eventually, because you're acting schizophrenic, right?
And I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, because I've interviewed ladies who have been harassed and taken by by the deep state, by bad guys, to the mental wards when they were making up these reasons they were causing them. So I can't get into that, but anyways.
So notice what I describe, it fits John's definition of what he said. When he said it's designed to break you and to put you on your last or psychological duress, under a lot of psychological duress.
Distrust and dislike of the Watchtower very early on, because I could see through the games and what they were doing. And they were behind a lot of, like I said, they were behind a lot of stuff. They worked through third parties so that they can say that they could have plausible deniability, and they can say, oh, we didn't do anything to you. You have bad luck. That had nothing to do with us. But all the while, they're in the background pulling the strings and making it happen.
I could see through the games and what they were doing. They're behind a lot of stuff. They work through third parties so that they can have plausible deniability. But notice how he described that, right? I could see through the games that they were basically trying to play, right?
Once you read this document, then I think you can understand why, because it's where I start to explain the pedophilia.
So notice the type of stuff that John is exposing. Go to the website. And I'm saying go to the website because this is just like the songbook. It's one of those things that if this gets around, they're gonna basically erase it from their history. So go to the website and download the PDF right from your website before anything changes. And it's this book, Jesus, the Way, the Truth, the Life. And this is the same book that had the vibrator on the floor, right? So it doesn't surprise me that the same book has got even darker stuff than them putting the vibrator on the floor. This is the worst. And it's so bad that I'm not gonna spell it out. Witnesses, you need to smarten up. I shouldn't have to spell these things out. You should be able to see past the brainwashing and clearly see what's going on. So I'm just going to basically ask a couple of questions. I'm not going to say much about this, and I don't want to say much about this. So if you go to page 129, this is the account where Jesus is feeding bread to everybody. So look carefully at all the bread. And what you'll notice is that everybody's bread looks normal, except for the children. So the question is why? Why is it that you have all these people around, bread that was freshly made by Jesus, right? And if you look at all the circles, everybody's bread looks normal. In fact, the woman on the right and the white, it almost looks like she got a hamburger, right? But all the bread looks normal. Why is it only the minors on the page got weird looking bread? Right? So I'm just asking a question. I'm not even going to say anything. But why does your bread, why can't it be normal like everybody else's bread? Why did the artist decide their bread is going to look different? So when you take a closer look at the bread that the girl has, they made it a point by the way they drew her upper lip that she's not eating the bread. She's not taking a bite out of the bread. She's sucking on the bread. You can see that by her upper lip. Now look at everyone else's mouth on the whole entire page. Do you see anyone else eating this bread that looks like her? Why did they make her upper lip look like that? Right? And remember, when it's a drawing, there's no excuses because everything is drawn in. There's no mistakes. Right? So we can already see that her bread doesn't seem to look like everyone else's bread. It seems to be a different shape. And why did they make her upper lip like that? But it gets worse. So again, look at the bread that looks normal. So when you look at the bread that the boy has, whatever it looks like is near his mouth is not even the same color as the bread everyone else is eating. And when you look at the boy's hand, look at his bottom finger on his upper hand by his mouth and his bottom finger. Whatever he's holding doesn't look like a piece of bread. And look at the bottom of that that's sticking out of what he's holding. Is there a reason they couldn't draw a normal looking piece of bread? Does that look anything like a piece of bread? Why does it got that type of shape at the bottom of it? And then the woman to the left, I'm sorry, the guy at the top right. Yeah, the guy at the top right is just eating his bread looking normal. The woman to the left looks like she's looking straight ahead, waiting for her bread. What is this guy in the middle doing? What kind of face is that? Does he look like he's zoning out? Does it look like his mind is somewhere else? What is going on? Now, here's the thing. I'm not an artist. But if I'm drawing a piece of bread and I'm not an artist, it's not going to be that hard that everybody's bread looks the same, period. So what the hell is going on? Now, as I said in the last video, and I emphasized this in the last video, Watchtower works in patterns. There's no coincidences. There's no excuses. It's a pattern. No coincidence can come up this many times in an organization's history. It is a pattern, period. And because it's a pattern, this is why you see the same stuff. The same sick, nasty stuff is why it keeps coming up, because it's a pattern. Now, we already know what happened with the black guy in the songbook. There's a reason that they took him out and put a white guy there. And this is one of those things that it doesn't matter how brainwashed Jehovah's Witnesses are and how much they try to defend this organization. When Watchtower panicked and they took the black guy off the book, replaced him with a white guy, it shows that they know what they're covering up. Right? And no Jehovah's Witness can explain this. Find me one Jehovah's Witness that they can explain why they would take just the black guy off of this book and replace him with a white guy and have to print out all new books. Can anybody explain why they did that? I mean, I can explain why they did that. It's pretty clear why they did that, because they're covering it up. And for those who are new to my channel, who don't really know what I'm talking about with this songbook, well, you can go on my page and I have 3 videos that are about the subject that break this down. So you can watch those videos if you want to understand more what Watchtower is doing. But when they took the black guy off and put a white guy there, it shows that none of this is by mistake. Everything that you're seeing in this video, it is what it is, and Watchtower knows exactly what they're doing, and it's a habitual pattern. They cannot help themselves. And it must have something to do with them being Saturn worshipers or whatever's going on, but this is why you're seeing the same thing that was in a songbook, the same type of thing in this Jesus book. So when you see this amount of things, though, even if you think that, her not wearing a bra is not a big deal, or you're doubting, you think it's just a coincidence, this organization has a habitual pattern of putting sexual things and doing sexual things and putting all types of sexual perversion. And many times they're involving children with this stuff, which is why they had to take the black guy off the songbook. So again, show me a Jehovah's Witness that can explain why they took the black guy off the songbook. Now, I would like to ask some of the bigger EXJW channels, why are you not covering this? Right? You see, I have a small channel. This guy, John, I don't even think he has a channel. Right? So you have these people such as myself and John that are exposing this type of stuff, and yet we have a smaller audience. So these mega EXJW channels, why are they not covering stuff like this? Right? I just want to put that out there. But understand that channels that do cover this kind of stuff, there's a reason why certain people maybe get harassed and other channels don't. So now I want to go to example number 2. Selena Bertoloma. Now I know that some XJWs don't trust her, but I wanted to just make one thing clear. When certain people are, you could say, set up with these organized harassment programs, there's a very sophisticated, you could say, smear campaign, right? Very sophisticated defamation campaign to try to destroy somebody, right? So it doesn't surprise me that when she came out, she happened to be attacked by a lot of XJWs. And the thing is, all that it takes is a couple seeds planted to kind of set her up to cause people to not trust her, right? You have to be careful what you trust and never judge somebody if you don't actually give them an opportunity to defend themselves, right? That's the first thing to understand. But keep in mind that anyone that's a real threat as she is, don't be surprised if there seems to be some sort of an attack against her reputation behind her back and she can't defend herself. So I just want to put that out there. Now again, I don't know her personally, but I will say is that there are two XJWs who I know who have spoken to her personally. One XJW who I'm friends with had actually had lunch with her in person. So all that I can say is again, I don't know her, but the two sources I have who spoke to her like in real life, they basically trust her. This I want you to just pay attention to what she says.
I'm looking for Anthony Morris.
Who?
Tony Morris III?
Tony Morris?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not here.
Okay. Can you tell him Selena Vertolomo came to see him?
Selena Vertolomo.
Vertolomo.
Hold on. Do you need to talk to him?
I think he needs to talk to me. He's responsible for the rape, stalking, and torture of myself, my sisters, and my mother.
He's responsible for the rape. And what does that say in the middle? Stalking, torture. Right? Another word of stalking would be what? Organized stalking, organized harassment, being followed. Right? So she's saying the same type of thing that I've said and John said. Well, why would she be a victim of any sort of harassment or stalking or even torture? Well, let's go on to see what else she says.
I think he needs to talk to me. He's responsible for the rape, stalking, and torture of myself, my sisters, and my mother. And I came down here to Lumberton, North Carolina to tell him my goddamn self, sir,
Did he rape you?
that his ass is grass and I'm the mower. His time has come. He has protected child rapists for long enough. He was relocated here to your nice Kingdom Hall. I understand you're a Christian congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. He is directly responsible. He is directly responsible for everything that has happened to me and my family. And I've come for him, and I will continue to come for him.
And what is your name?
Selena Vertolomo. He's very well acquainted with my father, Tony Vertolomo, who is a child rapist and was running a sex trafficking ring inside of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Vertolomo.
Vertolomo.
Vertolomo. Can I just say this to you?
Sure.
In all consciousness and respect for you, I am so very sorry.
I'm okay. Thank you.
I don't have no
Is he
idea.
around children here? I'm sure he is. He's incredibly dangerous, and I need people to understand that. There is a nationwide investigation going on right now out of California and Pennsylvania. He is at the heart of it. It's taking way too long. It's not protecting the children that are currently around him. And now that I know where he is and why he was relocated here, I came myself.
So notice what she's talking about. Child rapists, child trafficking ring inside Jehovah's Witnesses. Right? Does any of that sound familiar to what me and John were both talking about? So when Tony Morris was removed from the governing body, XJWs to this day don't have any explanation that actually makes any sense on why they removed him from the governing body. I've even heard some XJWs say things like it's because he had a drinking problem, right? Because of the whole video of him in a liquor store. Let me just explain this for anybody that thinks that. if you think that he got removed from the governing body by the other governing body members because he has a drinking problem, Bethel is full of alcoholics, right? I mean, haven't you heard all the stories of alcoholics in Bethel, right? The whole governing body wouldn't be surprised if they smoke crack, right? You see, he's not going to get deleted from the governing body because of a drinking problem. They're all corrupt people to begin with, right? So I'm not saying it to be rude, but it's like if you're an XJW, you got to get your head in the game, right? This man was not removed because he had a drinking problem, right? I mean that's the level that witnesses think on. Then I heard some XJW say things like, "Oh well, maybe it's because he didn't like the changes they were making and things like that." I mean, like literally, you got to get your head in the game if you want to bring this organization down. So while no XJW can explain anything that makes sense on why he was removed from the governing body, as far as I understand that she's the only one that said something that makes perfect sense, right? She tracked the man down in North Carolina, right? So again, I don't really care. XJW say they don't trust her. Give me a reason to not trust her. What I can see is that no other XJW is tracking the man down, and she's saying something that is right in line with what John says, and it's right in line actually with the stuff that I expose, right? You also see the pattern too, right? You see the three of us, we're not afraid to expose one of the most disgusting things that this organization is involved in. So again, I asked those bigger XJW channels, even say those that have maybe even attacked Selena, and again, I don't know her, but why are you not covering this stuff? Right? I mean, she tracked the man down. So, and I can't say that I can't say that I have proof that what she's saying is the reason that they removed him, but it makes a hell of a lot of sense than it's because he got a drinking problem. That's for sure, right? She's the only XJW that has a reasonable explanation, and she's basically you could say like what do they call a ride or die chick? Like she gonna track the man down in North Carolina and do like a live video on it. No, nobody else is doing that. So so again, I don't know why people. You see, here's the thing: whenever someone is really trying to do some real damage, if they get attacked, you have to be very conscious of the ones that people are being attacked, especially from within the community. Sometimes those are the ones that are the real activists, right? That are actually doing something, not just making videos about shunning and disfellowshipping. So again, I don't know her, but understanding the pattern and the way these things work, what I can see is, as she said about being stalked and harassed, it fits exactly what John has said, and I myself have said in the past. So now let's go to example number three, a man named Derek Barefoot. Now, I'm not going to show his picture because, from what I understand, he did a lot of exposing Jehovah's Witness stuff in like the 1990s, and it seems like he's completely walked away from all this Watchtower activism stuff. So I don't know him. I haven't seen any recent connections of him saying anything about Watchtower, so I'm not going to use his picture. But this was sent to me by one of my subscribers, and it's a summary of a book that this man Derek Barefoot wrote in the 1990s. So I'm going to just read a couple of parts of the summary of this book that this man Barefoot wrote. So where I've highlighted it says Barefoot wrote his first book in the early 1990s to explain how his attempt at demonstrating the denouncing the existence of satanic images in Jehovah's Witness publications led to his disfellowship. Now, I want to say that's very impressive, right? This guy in the 1990s, right? There wasn't nothing online really about Jehovah's Witnesses in the 1990s, not like these images and the stuff, like the stuff that I'm able to pull up. This guy was doing that in the 90s. right? In the 90s, he was exposing and finding these satanic images without the internet. That's very impressive. But you see, it's a habitual pattern because here it is, this guy in the 90s, it sounds like he was the pioneer of what I'm doing, right? Like he was doing the same thing, but he was like the pioneer. He was doing this in the 90s without even really the use of the internet so much, right? Like when I say use of the internet, I know like there was the internet in 1990s, but not like we have it now, right? So anyway, so that's what this guy was doing. But what I found really interesting about this, and again, I haven't read the actual book, and I do know somebody who the same person that actually sent me this information, she ordered the actual book, so she's gonna let me know what the book says about the detail of the harassment. But notice what it says right here. Barefoot reports that while working on the project and afterwards, the project is the satanic images in Watchtower. So Barefoot reports while working on the project and afterwards, he noticed satanic signs also around himself, such as symbols painted in red and yellow on the bridge near his house. Now, I'm sorry, is that not the exact same thing that I discussed in the video someone tries to intimidate ex-Jehovah's Witness part 1 and 2? Right? Now think about it, right? He's working on doing the same exact thing that I'm doing, right? And the same exact thing why I said that car was placed right by the gate that I walk by every day. He noticed that near his house somebody painted satanic symbols on this bridge that he walks by, right? Is that not the same exact pattern that I said myself? Right. So remember what John said also about the untrained eye, and I said that too. You see, the untrained eye, even a situation that I gave, the untrained eye could say, "Oh, that's just a coincidence." These are not coincidences. In fact, if I could find out who is actually accountable for some of the harassment that I've been through and I took them to court, this is good enough to use as evidence, right? I could use this as evidence and say, what are the odds that in the 1990s there was somebody doing the same exact thing, exposing satanic? Think about it. All the religions in the world, right? You got, I don't know, tens of thousands of religions, hundreds of thousands of religions, maybe. Jehovah's Witnesses is a very small religion compared to all the other religions out there. So what are the odds that this guy in the 1990s, we're not even in the same generation, right? So this guy in the 1990s was doing the same exact thing, exposing satanic images in Watchtower, and then somebody puts a satanic symbol on a bridge near his house, right? To me, that's evidence, right? Circumstantial evidence, but and again, you know what I said in my other videos too. Ask ChatGPT, right? Right? Put the odds in ChatGPT yourself and ask ChatGPT, what are the odds that this guy in the 1990s, the same exact situation, what are the odds that these are just weird coincidences and there's no connection to Watchtower? Really, there's no connection to what we're working on. But anyway, let me go on. So he then says how he felt an A circumscribed by a circle in a basketball court during a walk with his children. Now that symbol, I know what he's talking about. It used to be used for satanic stuff. I don't know. I don't see that symbol that often, but I know in the 90s that was considered satanic. And we've seen a circle with an A in the middle of it. But anyway, so he found that symbol in a basketball court, right? That he walks with his children, right? Same thing, right? His routine, right? Remember his not his neighbor's routine, his routine. And then he says how someone had been looking up the word Satan in the library database that he perused, and on the same occasion he occupied a cubicle where someone had left a stack of books about mysticism and the supernatural. So I'm not sure what he means about the Satan in the database. I think what he meant was something like a computer that he used, that when he got in a computer, the word Satan came up, like maybe when he went to Google search or something like that. Like something where what are the odds that he gets on this computer and when he goes to search something, it's Satan is the last thing on a computer. I think that's what he's saying. But and then when he says how someone had left a stack of Bibles about mysticism and supernatural, like remember back going back to what John said about the games they play, right? And that's exactly what I'm saying about this card. It was planted there, right? It's head games, right? But there's no way this guy was doing the same exact thing as I was doing. He was doing it in the 1990s, and the same thing, satanic images just start to pop up near his routine. So I'll be very curious when my contact on this, the woman that sent me this information, I'll be very curious when she reads the whole book and gives me more details on the harassment that he went through. But that's the same exact thing that I described for the same exact reason. So what you have is four XJWs who never met, right? The four of us never met. I doubt John has ever spoke to Selena. It's possible, but from what I understand, I don't think they've ever met. And I know none of us ever talked to Barefoot. So how are the four of us all describing the same type of thing, right? For the same type of reason, exposing the same type of thing. And yet we struggle to try to push this information out. Why the mega XJW channels, they want to talk about shunning and disfellowshipping, right? I wonder why they don't want to cover, do they not want these issues to be public? I don't know. Now, I titled this video XJW Elites, right? Being targeted and harassed by Watchtower. Now, when I say elites, I don't mean it in the same way that like what people would call the deep state uses that word. Let me explain why I'm saying that. Right. Number one, it's not only bad guys that can call themselves elites, but the reason why I'm calling this XJW elites is not to be competitive, not to try to say that we're better than anybody. But let me explain what I mean by elite. So John, for example, he's taken the Watchtower and fought these people in court, not because of a individual case of child abuse, which that's kind of a normal case. He's fought these people in court for money laundering, right? To expose that they're basically criminals, right? Money laundering and really dark, evil stuff. How many XJWs got the courage to do that, right? To go to court to expose them on what they're doing? That's an elite, right? And I'm not saying that again to raise him above anyone else, but what I'm saying is it comes at a high price, right? So don't be surprised when someone like him talks about being harassed and all the things and his friend being run off the road, like because he's earned that title to be an XJW elite. And Selena again, right? So I'm just going by the facts, right? I don't really care what anybody says about her. How many people are going to track a governing body member down? Nobody knew where he was at. All that we knew is, oh, he's not a member of the governing body anymore. Nobody, she tracks the man down in North Carolina and basically is looking for him and is not afraid to say that, not afraid to call this man out and say what she said, right? You got these mega XJW channels that won't even discuss any of this stuff. She's chasing the man down, a governing body member, right? She's an XJW elite as far as I'm concerned. And again, it comes at a high price. So when she's talked about that even her sister and her mother were harassed, stalked, and tortured, right? And one of the connections that I know who has spoken with her in person, I guess Selena had mentioned something about having like two houses burnt down, right? So again, it comes at a high price. Anybody can be an XJW elite, but you know what? You got to stop talking about shunning and disfellowshipping and talk about real stuff that's gonna get these people shut down. And then Barefoot, well, he's an elite too, because you know what? This man in the 1990s, when nobody really had the internet back then, right? What did he have? Just like internet forums, not even Reddit, I don't think, in the 1990s. Like just those JW forums. And this man in the 90s, right? He didn't have the stuff that I have access to. He can't just go online and go on the website and grab all the material and crop it together on a computer. This man was he was having the physical books of everything, right? This is probably the type of person that was taking the Awake magazine and getting a physical mirror and showing, when you mirror the pictures, like he was doing this by himself, right? Without computers, right? That's an XJW elite. And when I call myself an XJW elite, I'm not saying that again to brag, but it comes at a high price, right? It comes at a high price. And you know what? People like me, we may not have these large exaggerated subscribers because channels like ours are always going to be shadow banned. But let me now just show you some of the price that I've had to pay in the past. So you can find this on Ole Demigurd's website. And I just want to show you a clip of some of the stuff that I have dealt with in my past. Now, when I play this clip, I want you to listen to this with headphones because this was a situation where something you can call a directed energy weapon or you can call it a frequency weapon, but a frequency disruptive weapon was being beamed in my house 24/7. And the thing that was interesting is I had cameras in my house because of stuff that I had mentioned, that other things that were going on. But the cameras didn't have audio, right? The cameras were just visual, like the audio was completely disabled. There was no audio. But interestingly, whatever this frequency weapon was, while my cameras don't have, or while my cameras did not even have audio, like no sound, it picked up the sound, right? So how could it pick up, how could the cameras that don't have sound pick up sound? Well, only if it's on some type of different frequency could that happen. But anyway, listen very closely and listen to this with headphones and see what was being beamed in my house 24/7 that my cameras caught. Can you guys hear that sound? Is the sound on?
No, you
No.
have to tick the box below share sound as well. Yeah, this is really interesting, I think, because this is a camera that does not record the sound at all, doesn't record audio, and still we can. It's down where you share with the share options. There should be one box you tick that says share sound or something like that.
Okay.
Down in the menu.
All the way down the bottom.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
And that is from a device that does not record sound.
Incredible.
That is brutal.
Oh,
You can see the pulsating too in the middle. So I think that is the sound that they're beaming in my house 24/7. And I can't hear it, probably causing damage, but the camera just happened to pick this sound up somehow.
And I've had people contact me who have been filming themselves.
So what I was saying, if you couldn't hear what I said in the video, is that I couldn't hear that sound. It was on a frequency that you can't hear, but the camera picked it up. Right. So I didn't even know that was being beamed in my house until I had checked my cameras, and which shouldn't have sound anyway. But that's definitely a weapon, right? And that's something high tech. So let me ask you this, like what type of, I don't know, military, Air Force, like what who even has something like that, right? That's not like just some random person down the street that's trying to mess with me. Like so why would something that sophisticated be in my house like that? Right? Can anybody explain that? So now I want to go to the weaponized streetlights that some of you have seen before. And this is from the original Jehovah's Witnesses Are the New World Order, the raw, unedited version. And on Michael Jaco's channel, he has it titled something different, but this is basically from that raw, unedited version. And during the live show, that if you watch this video on his channel, during the live show, there was apparently some sort of a lag. Like just when I was showing him footage, for some reason the internet started messing up, right? Like, like that's not a like is that a coincidence? So when I play this, when I show you the weaponized streetlights, I'm gonna show you the raw footage directly from my file when I'm playing the video. So one thing, and this is I couldn't get into this last time, but basically so I believe that targeted individuals are test subjects. That's partly why they put people on lists, because they need people to test. So I'm driving at work, I'm driving my truck, and you're going to see in this video that what happens is that the LED lights start to go off in a pattern. And it may look like, oh, the lights are just malfunctioning, but you're going to be able to see that it's a systematic pattern. And what I noticed is that when I was driving this set of lights, they got turned on. Like it seemed like as I was approaching it, as if somebody flipped on a switch. And my theory is that it was being tested on me. I think it's a weapon system. And again, they can, if you're on a targeted list, they can test you with stuff like this. So there's certain highways that I'm on, and it's always the same stretch. Like there's certain stretches where it seems like there's certain lights that they can hit a button on, and when I drive through these sections, the lights go crazy. So you're going to see what I'm talking about. If you look right up here, you're going to see there's like a flashing on the ground, and then I'm going to put the camera up, and you're going to see what's happening.
Oh, wow.
And you can see it's systematic. It's not like a malfunction. It's like, it's a pattern.
Wow. Yeah, it's not happening for the other cars. That is crazy.
So one thing too is that I actually felt it, because when I get hit with like directed energy type stuff, sometimes my face gets numb.
Yep.
And I feel sluggish, and that's what happened. So as I was going through it, I felt my face getting numb and sluggish, the same type of feeling I get when I'm at home.
Oh, wow. So somebody's directing, or something within your vehicle is triggering it, or something within you is triggering it. So something, or some, you could be, because I know you talk about how it seems like there was always somebody with like bright lights,
Yeah.
You would go to like, places 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's no one else there, and someone's sitting there with bright lights.
Yep.
It's like, what the heck? So you're having that constantly. The amount of people, that the funding that went in to harass you, and this type of system it's staggering what they how they target. And this is you, one person. They do this to, like we're talking about, tens of thousands of people all over the world.
So I want to show too that it's ending now, but what you'll see is that the LED lights, like they're putting up all over the country, those are the ones that are doing it. Once I get to these older lights that are more like an amber color, they're not bright LED, it stops. So see, these ones are like the older lights, though that's when it stops. So it seems to be, I think all these LED lights that they're putting up everywhere that are new, some of them I think are weapon systems and they can be activated. I can't say all of them, but that's what I think. So I'm going to say this just to cover myself, that what I just showed you, that was on a highway 84 East in Connecticut between exits 38 and 40 around the New Britain area. So if other people drive that highway and they're not seeing that, that's a problem. And if you are seeing it, somebody with the resources needs to ask what's going on, because these LED lights are brand new. They shouldn't be malfunctioning. It's obviously not a malfunction. So what is going on? Something is going on. Now, this one I took just 2 days ago. I kind of stopped taking evidence because, again, I stopped giving this stuff energy. But when I knew we were doing an interview, I just decided, you know what, let me get a video of this. So this was just 2 days ago. And here's another one. This one isn't as long, but you'll see it's the same thing. Where once I start to approach it, these lights start going off. And again, this was or the date's right here, 8/26. They did start it before I got all the way up to it, but I seen it when it started. It wasn't doing it, and once I started to approach it, then it started going off.
Wow.
That can't be good for your health.
No.
So that one, and again, just to cover myself, that was a highway Interstate 91 South in Connecticut between exits 37 and 36. So if you live in Connecticut, if you're a white hat, if you're a good guy and you live in Connecticut, drive by that highway. And if you're not seeing that when you drive by, then why is it happening when I go through that? And if you are seeing it, what's going on? So another thing is, I think that could also have to do with, everyone's worried about 5G and 5G being like a weapon system. I think that a lot of these LED lights are weaponized, and it's so hidden, it's perfect. If that's a 5G weapon system, they can hurt people, they can do things to people, they can radiate people, and you will have no idea because it's a street light.
So you think that's why they're pushing the LED light so much?
That's exactly why. And I want to show this too. So I showed this last time, but I want to show how it's kind of similar. So this was my CCTV camera showing how my neighbor put the LED light on his house, and it's pulsating too. And it's right here in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's the same type of thing. It is genius. Whoever came up with this idea is genius. Put a weapon system and an LED light. It's undetectable. Nobody's going to know that. And even this right here, I can say that when I went outside and looked at this, it wasn't flashing. It was only the infrared lens that showed it was pulsating out. When I went outside and looked at my house, it was just stationed. It didn't blink or anything, but the camera caught that it was emitting something. So that's something they're constantly trying to hit me with, whether I'm driving or, again, even in my house. But it's got to be connected. And this may sound a little far-fetched, but it's the truth. So, like you mentioned, I'm followed with cars with high beams a lot. I also think that they can also weaponize these on vehicles. So somebody could be following you and they might not even be aware of it. They could just be told, follow this person. They might not even know that the car that they're being asked to drive, that those lights are emitting some sort of harmful radiation. And it could be worse for if they have too, that like maybe that activates something in you if you took the.
I totally agree with that.
Now I have one more thing. I don't know if you have time for or if you wanted to.
Yeah, we got some time. Go ahead. Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
So I made a little compilation what you were talking about when I mentioned how like everywhere I go they have a car with like either bright high beams on or just really bright LED lights. And so when this kind of stuff happens, the thing with the targeted individual program is that if you were to hang out with me for one day and I were to point this stuff out to you, you wouldn't get it because you'd have to see that it happens every single time I leave my house. And when you see that it happens every time for weeks, that's when you can start to see, okay, the odds of this happening every time you leave the house are impossible.
Right.
So you can never just show somebody something one time and they will be able to get it. They can't get it because they haven't had it put in front of them over and over and over and over. So, and I will say before I play it that this has calmed down since I've done your interview the first time. So things have improved. It still happens, but this compilation is more like in the heat of it, like when it was like every single like minute. So this one, and you're going to see different locations because I moved several times trying to get away from it. So this was a house I was staying at where I left for work early in the morning, and right across the street there was a church, and this was like 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's around. And as soon as I came out of my driveway, there's a pickup truck with high beams brighting me. And I'm going to pull over, like instead of going the way it was normally going to go, I'm going to drive past him, and you can see that he's just sitting there with his high beams on beaming me. So normally I'd go straight, but I'm turning just to collect evidence. And where he's parked was directly from where my car was parked. So that was the whole thing. So as soon as I got outside, beam, the lights are right on me, right on my face. And then in this one, there's a car brighting me, but he's parked like in the breakdown lane, but he's parked so close to the road that it's looking like he's coming at me head on. So they were kind of trying to intimidate me, like the way the road curved, it really looked like he was going to hit me head on. And they always want to keep you in a fight or fight state, but you're going to see like how he's parked on the wrong side of the road just to try to like, to make me think he's coming head on.
Oh, wow.
So you can see where he's at. He's really not in the road, but he's parked against the traffic. So he's already legally parked. So he did that on purpose. And you can see how close he is to the road. Like that was definitely intentional. So this is one where every time, this is another house I was living, and every time I'd pull out of the driveway, there'd be a car sitting there just beaming me, not moving. The car's not even running, just with the high beams on. And it's to create this psychological effect that as soon as I leave the house, I'm constantly having these bright lights in my face. So I'm backing out of the driveway, and then you're going to see as soon as I turn around, I'm being beamed. And when I get up to him, the car's not even running.
Mm.
And you'll burn a battery out. You can't have your high beams on and the car's not running, but his car wasn't even running. So this next one is the same house. And I put on my shoes. I say to my wife, I'm going to take the trash out. So, they're listening. When you're at Target, they're listening, through your phone or whatever. So they know that I'm going outside just to take the trash out. And just for me going outside to take the trash out, they'll make sure there's a car beaming me when I take the trash out. So I'm on foot.
Wow.
And that car is not moving. It's just sitting there beaming me while I'm taking the trash out. And one thing that's obvious is sometimes I would like antagonize them back. I don't do it anymore, but sometimes I would walk up to them, and as soon as I approach them, they run away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably because, they don't want to get caught on camera and they don't want to have any proof. So that's another sign too, because why would they run away? Because I'm approaching them. But every time I would approach them, they would just leave. They would never let me get close enough really to get their face. So here's another place I was living. And as soon as I pass this stop sign, I'm going home and there's two cars beaming me. So as soon as I pull in, they're waiting for me. Now, in this case, what I purposely did was I already passed my house, but I was trying to get close unexpectedly. I was trying to see them. Then I have another one right there coming with the high beams on also. And that one is not moving. He's just sitting there to let me know that I'm being watched. But he's sitting in the middle of the road.
Hmm.
And now I'm backing into the house that I was at. So this one, I'm going to have to explain it a little bit to get it. So that trailer right there, I have to hook up to that trailer. So I went into the office, I got my paperwork. I don't got a trailer on, but the trailer I'm going to pick up is already known. So the people that are targeting me, they already know, because everything's hacked, that, okay, I'm picking up that trailer number and it's right there waiting for me. So I'm driving to hook up to that trailer and I'm driving past a Target parking lot. Behind where my truck is at, there's a Target parking lot. And there was nobody there with lights on. But once I hook up to that trailer that's positioned right there and my truck is facing straight, they got a car planted exactly across from me, beaming me, like in that one spot, like right on that truck.
Wow.
So I'm going to kind of just fast forward it so you get the picture better. So that's the trailer. So now I'm turning. I'm like making a U-turn. So now I'm going to back into that trailer. So this is me turning around to hook into that trailer. Or hold on. Okay, yeah. And you see that was that same point we looked at. Right where you see the trailer was like in the middle by itself. Now directly across, there's one car beaming me. So the whole time I'm hooking up my cables and hooking up, my lines to the trailer, I'm being brighted with high beams on as I'm trying to work.
Jeez. they're gathering information on you, or for whatever reason they're targeting you. They don't see it. If they saw you a threat, there'd be two people there.
Yeah.
You always have a backup if there's a threat. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So in this one, you can catch this. Every once in a while, they slip up. So I'm driving home, and you're going to see a car parked on the right side. And right when I'm approaching him, he turns his lights on. So that way, when I'm driving past him, I get those high beams like in my car, like all in my face. And you're going to see he waits until I drive past him to turn them on. So I go through the high beams. Like right here, you're going to see him. Yeah, you see that?
Yeah.
Let me just.
This harassment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, and this what we're doing right here is a way to get back at them and start to slow some of that down. Because if they don't want their license plates, to go online here, but that's a potential. If it continues, you can probably come on, you can start. And I don't recommend this right now, but if they continue, you could potentially put that out because you're starting to get an audience. You have your own show now, so that's good. So you're probably going to see these guys back off a little bit. That happened to me. I was being followed for a while. I would see them. They thought they were really clever, but I would see them, and I would look at them, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, you notice me? Yeah, I'm trained at this, and you're not as good as I am." So eventually, it started to break up when I started to go online and started to talk. So this is a good thing that you're revealing this, and this is what other people that are undergoing this. You start to just do some videos, put it online, but you have to be careful if they see you as like an easy pushover target, which you're not. Then they might get a little bit more aggressive with you. So you just have to be aware that this is a game. This is a game you can win. And you've done a really good job with it. You're exposing this. You're blowing this open. This is something that is through all these different organizations. They're trying to control humanity through different processes, through the like you're talking about, the light systems and all that stuff. It's it has to be exposed.
Yeah, I feel that I have to expose it. That's why I know I'm divinely protected, because it'd be bad karma for me to know these things, to see them, and just use it to save myself. So I feel like I have to expose it. I have to say something, and they can't touch me for that reason karmically.
Right.
So and this picture, so this is a drop yard. It's all trailers. Different trucks come here just to pick up a trailer. So on the right side, this is the the front of the trailer, and I'm hooking up to it. So what you're looking at here is the passenger window. So I'm facing straight, hooking up to this trailer. Again, they know what trailer I'm going to get because I'm getting text messages from work, pick up this trailer in this lot. So this pickup truck, and as you can see, this is a drop yard. He's parked completely sideways, pointing his high beams into my truck. Like you can see he's parked completely sideways. So again, as I'm coming to this place, there's only tractor trailers. There's this one guy in a truck with his high beams on me, watching me. And this is, and again, like I can make 10 or more stops a day when I'm driving. And it's impossible that everywhere I go, this is going to happen, especially at a place like this where cars shouldn't even be back there. But before I move on, you see this, you see where he's at, right? Right here in the middle?
Yeah.
Yep. Face me. So let me just explain this one. So this is very clear that I'm getting onto the on-ramp on the highway. So I'm getting onto the on-ramp into the slow lane. So I'm not in anybody's way. I'm not going too slow. I'm just getting on the highway. So this tanker truck that's in the middle lane, he starts beaming me from lights turned backwards to blind me while I'm driving. And nobody can say it's road rage because it wasn't like I was in his way because I'm coming on the on-ramp in a slow lane. He's passing me in the middle lane, then slows down to start trying to blind me to run me off the road, probably just to scare me. He knows I'm a skilled enough driver that I'm not going to crash, but I could have ran off the road. And then you're going to see that when I try to move out of his way, he puts on another light to blind me from that side. So you can see, like, as I try to get away from him, he keeps blinding me. Okay, so this is the on-ramp. Okay, so now you're going to see him in the middle lane.
Oh, wow. What a jerk.
So I move over to get away from him because he's blinding me. Now he blinds me from another light on that side. I go back to the other side. He blinds me with 2 lights.
Jeez, I've never seen anything like that. That's crazy. And do fellow truckers sometimes do this kind of crazy stuff?
It can happen, but it would only happen in a road rage situation. So
Yeah.
say, like, if
Right.
I was in the fast lane going too slow, he may do it because I'm in his way. But that's why I want to emphasize the fact that I was getting on the on-ramp. There was no altercation. There was no reason for him to get upset.
Mhm.
And he was already blowing along in the middle lane, slows down and starts blinding me. With lights turned backwards. And it's the same thing, bright LED light. So that's the pattern. And that's how I know it's harassment, because it's the same thing of just being blinded. So this is very interesting. This is where I live now. And when I moved in here around like March. And when I first moved in, the neighbor did not have these lights, or at least they weren't on or that we seen. After living here about a week, he put these LED lights on a staircase. And nobody old lives in the house, because I've seen the people in the house. It's nobody elderly or anything like that. But these LED lights, they put them so that they're shining directly into my bedroom. So this window right here, this is my current bedroom. And the reason I sleep in the front of the house is because with being targeted and everything, it's safer that I'm in the front of the house when I'm asleep rather than in the back. It's safer to be in the front. So, and my wife left because, she turned against me because of the whole JW thing. Once I started questioning, she just disappeared and won't, so she's no longer here with me. But when this happened, I verified with her. I said, those lights weren't up when we moved in. And she agreed, like, no, they weren't in. So after we moved in, they put these lights up, and I'm going to show you what they look like in the daytime. Then I'll show you what they look like in at nighttime. Okay, so this is the staircase, and as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are lights, and they were not there when we first moved in. They were put in after we moved in. Okay, so now this is in my bedroom, and I'm going to show you how it looks at night, what's coming in right on my bed when I'm sleeping. So those lights are going directly on my bed, and I'm going to show you where my bed is at. So basically, even when I'm sleeping, I got these lights on me. Right on me, right on the bed.
Wow.
So I want to say too, so when I showed earlier videos, every time I'd leave my house, there would always be like a physical card there with the lights on it and what time of day it was. And what they did with this is they no longer have to take that risk because now they can say I'm good at collecting evidence. So by putting those lights on that staircase and my shining in my broom, it gives that same psychological effect. So they don't have to have a physical person sitting there. That's automatic. So now as the psychologically try to torment me, they're on all the time on me. And that's the point of it. And this is the last one. So if anyone is skeptical, you're not going to be skeptical after this. So this is my back porch. And when I started going outside just to relax, somebody, I don't know where the light's coming from, they'd start shining an LED light on my face as I'm on my porch relaxing.
Jeez.
So you see right there between those trees? So they started doing that. I'd go outside and then like they'd put a light on me and it's not there until I go outside. And after I'm there for like a couple of minutes, then they start shining that. And I can't tell which house is coming from. So this, they kind of backed off of this because I showed my wife and when I showed it to her, she started to like see what I was saying. And then they backed off because anytime that you can get like a witness and document it, they back off. So if every time I go outside, they still did this, they know that that's going to be too obvious. So once I started documenting this, they stopped doing it. But there was a time recently where I forgot to take the trash out like before I went to bed. So at like 3 o'clock in the morning, I got up to take the trash out. And by the time I got dressed, went out in the backyard to get the trash cans, somebody shined like a spotlight on me. I don't know where it was coming from at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, that quick.
Wow.
And that's why when you're a target, they try to occupy houses near you. Sometimes people think their neighbors are doing it, but I think sometimes what they're doing is they're renting those houses around you. So it looks like it's your neighbors doing it, but these people are working in shifts to watch you. So that's how, if I put my shoes on, they could say, oh, he's going outside. Okay, hurry up, get the light. You know, like they can do that because they're working in shifts around the target person. And sometimes neighbors are involved slightly, but I think very minimal. Like a neighbor may be involved, he may get paid money to take a picture of you every time he sees you, like little stuff like that. But when it comes to this light stuff, I don't think that's the neighbor being paid. That's them, and they're most likely occupying these people's houses.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the last time you came on, you showed how it looked like they're portaling in, and your cat like ran when it turned on. Wow, it's crazy.
So I wanted to bring awareness to this because again, this is something that there's a lot of EXJWs that have gone through this, and many are afraid to mention it because they don't want to look paranoid or sound crazy because they're afraid of the status quo, so to say. But I wanted to just bring awareness that there's no way that it's a coincidence that the four of us who've never met, it's all the same pattern, right? We're all doing the same thing and we're all describing the same harassment, even though it comes in different ways because, again, like I said, it's tailored to the person, right? The parked car with the Baphomet probably wouldn't phase John, for example, right? So you see what I'm saying, that like it's tailored differently, but it's all connected to the Watchtower organization. Now, one thing I want to make clear is because when I posted the last video that I did on a subject like this, someone trying to intimidate EXJW Part 2, many people were like, oh, you know, be careful, all this stuff, you know, like I'm praying for you, and I appreciate that. I actually do. So please, you know, I'll take love and good wishes and good health anytime. But I just want to explain this. So I have gone through this in 2023 was basically when I could say I stopped it, right? Which is another reason why I am an XJW elite. Not many can actually beat this system and prosper and turn everything into a blessing that comes my way. Right? In fact, this kind of stuff actually woke me up more to the Jehovah's Witness religion. So it actually became a blessing that these things have happened. So I just want to make this clear. All that footage that I showed you, at least from what I've gone through, I have beat the system. Right? In fact, if you've seen my video about the parked car, that is what I reduced these people to. A parked car with a bumper sticker. That's it. Desperate, petty, childish games that I can see from 100 miles away. Right? Like I said, these boneheads, right, do these stupid. I've reduced them to a bumper sticker, right? A video that actually it's almost at 1,000 views, so I'm actually going to get paid by YouTube for that video. And a good thing about that whole thing happening with the bumper sticker is that, so if I didn't post that video about the bumper sticker, because I thought, oh, you know what, this would be a good video to make, right? Not only can I make some money off of it from YouTube, but by posting that, that is when 3 people had told me to check out Kim and Mikey's channel and check out John's interviews, right? I never would have done that. So then when I went to watch John's videos on Kim and Mikey's channels, I then made the connection to Selena Vertiloma, what she was saying. And then somebody else, because of that video I posted about the bumper sticker, sent me the information on Derek Barefoot. Right? So you see, anything that comes my way turns into a blessing. And so I just want to say, like, don't worry about me. Like, basically, I reduced the system to nothing but a bumper sticker, right? And the absolute stupidest, childish games that it almost makes me feel sorry. Like I almost want to help them and say, hey guys, you know, let me give you some ideas if you want to try to pull me back to that vibration. So I just want to make this clear. I'm only showing you this old footage of what I've gone through. Not that it's still going on now, but to bring awareness and to let you know that other people that are saying this stuff, they're not crazy. They're not paranoid. And again, all the stuff about Selena Vertiloma, again, I don't know her personally, but I will say that, again, you're dealing with a very sophisticated attack. So there could have been a lot of things going on behind the scenes to frame her, to make people not like her, to make people not trust her. Now, again, I don't know. I'm just speculating. But I'm saying that you have to be smarter than that. So when you're dealing with people who I would say are EXJW elites, people doing big things and exposing big things against Watchtower, don't ever discredit somebody or attack somebody and accuse somebody of not being trustworthy without giving them an opportunity to defend whatever accusations you're hearing about them. Right? Because part of that organized harassment stuff is they do try to set people up for things they didn't do and try to turn people against you. So just remember that. Don't ever judge somebody and like give them an opportunity to defend themselves. Right? And if you can't get a hold of them to ask them any questions, then you know what? Take what you get at face value. Right? I mean, she's the only one on the internet that actually gave an example that makes sense what happened to Tony Morris, right? And again, so those XJWs know he didn't get removed because he didn't like the policies. He didn't get removed because they have a drinking problem, right? They all have drinking problems. Like I said, they probably smoke crack, right? They're not going to remove him because he's got a drinking problem, right? Right. So look at the actions of what people are doing, what they're bringing to the table, and understand that when people are exposing big things, don't be surprised if their reputation gets slandered. And for anybody that wants to be what I would call an XJW elite, basically step up your game and don't be afraid to expose things that may get your channel shadow banned. Right? Because at the end of the day, are we concerned with ourselves? Do we just want to grow and try to make money off of YouTube? Or do we want to expose the truth of this religion and break our family members, our friends and family members out of the Watchtower prison that they're stuck in?
All I wanted is somebody who's not afraid of you know, pursuing this, because, you know, everywhere I went, everyone's, ooh, the Watchtower. Ooh, you don't want to mess with them. Ooh, the Watchtower. Ooh, you don't want to mess with them. Ooh, the Watchtower. Ooh, you don't want to mess with them.
And I came down here to Lumberton, North Carolina to tell him my goddamn self. And I came down here to Lumberton, North Carolina to tell him my goddamn self. And I came down here to Lumberton, North Carolina to tell him my goddamn self.
Why would I be afraid of a parked car with nobody in it? Why would I be afraid of a parked car with nobody in it? Why would I be afraid of a parked car with nobody in it? And why am I going to be afraid of someone is so much of a coward that they would park a car, then go run and hide away somewhere, and I'm going to be afraid of a bumper sticker